Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So, One Piece chapter 1053 is out. If you guys haven't checked out that chapter yet, I suggest that you do so because I will be spoiling you. But now that you have, let's begin. I thought it was kind of a weird chapter for us to pretty much focus exclusively on Blackbeard. Not that I have a problem with it, that's not what I'm trying to communicate. I'm really excited for Blackbeard. The things that were dropped in this chapter makes it, we're heading for the endgame, right? We're all excited for this. However, it's just weird timing that we're at the start of an arc and we pan across the ocean. It's just an unusual thing. I wonder if Oda's going to do more of this, right? We're in the, call it Vegapunk arc or Egghead Island arc. Are we going to periodically cut between other events going around in the world, including perhaps the future of this fight with Blackbeard and Law? I'm just saying that if this becomes a thing, the pacing on this arc is going to be totally mind-shattering, pretty much. We're already expecting massive reveals from Vegapunk, and then we're also cutting between with reveals across the world, maybe with Sabo, World Government, Sword, Emu, the weapons, Blackbeard, Kobe, and Vivi. I'm just saying that there's a lot of options that Oda has here to pan around. Big Mom and Kaido, I'm still waiting for them to, confirm death for Kaido and Big Mom somewhere maybe. Obviously this isn't confirmed. I don't want to act like it's confirmed. I'm just saying that starting off an arc and then immediately panning to Blackbeard, it's weird. Could end up being a thing which defines the arc, as something Oda has never really done before. And Oda being in a hurry to tell this story could mean something. Of course, it just may be sequential, right? This is just happening at the exact same time, and Oda wanted to draw it in the right timeline, rather than this happened yesterday or something. But I do think that we're going to reach the endgame far faster than a lot of people are ready for, despite Oda and team hammering that in. So it may be important for Oda to move the various factions around the world in the direction he wants them to go so that they, are where they need to be, with the right amount of setup. And we've already discussed this at length in previous chapter reviews as well, but with Blackbeard in particular, there's one huge hurdle that he needs to overcome, and that's the fact that he doesn't have tools in order to become the Pirate King. He can't follow the poneglyphs, or at least couldn't. We didn't know how he would do that before this chapter. And we start off, it's in the cover story itself. Cracker is frozen and Pudding is missing. It's guaranteed, right? It's guaranteed to be Aokiji, and Aokiji took Pudding. Pudding was foreshadowed in Whole Cake Island. Big Mom was counting on her being able to read the poneglyphs using her third eye tribe abilities. It seems as if Blackbeard learned about this and decided that she would be his interpreter. So now that he has this box checked, or at least the idea of it checked, Pudding still hasn't confirmed to possess this ability or know how to use it, so it may not end up like he thinks. However, this box is checked. The next one is you actually need the rubbings of the road poneglyphs. I was so sure that it was going to be Kid and not Law, and maybe that's just Kid bias, like straight up. Kid has had such a rough go in the New World, bad luck at every turn. It just made sense to me because there was already theories that one of them would encounter Blackbeard. So it just made sense to me that it would be Kid and Kid would get washed again. But it turned out to be Law, and that's really interesting. Law also happens to possess the rubbings of road poneglyphs. We know that he has the one in Wano. We presume that he has the one in Zou. And I would hazard a guess that he has Big Mom's road poneglyph as well. So if we assume this to be true and Blackbeard defeats Law, then he's just got one left, the same one that the Strats are looking for. Given the timing of this happening at the beginning of the Vegapunk arc, Oda could be moving us in that direction where once we leave this island, the next one probably going to be the Road Poneglyph Island. Blackbeard probably going to be there as well, either during the arc or at the end. And we know, right? We know Law's not going to beat Blackbeard. That seemed like the whole premise of this chapter is Blackbeard is on another level now. His crew, they've stolen very specific devil fruits that complement each of his members' abilities who did not already possess one, so there's no way Law can do it. And maybe this is blasphemy, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I don't think that Law's crew is that impressive. Beppo is awesome, I get it. The other two, what do they do? Do they fight people? I guess I forgot Gene Bard, but yeah, outmatched, outclassed, outnumbered. He's not going to win. I also don't think that he's going to run away either. It's really interesting, right? Law potentially had a chance to run. Instead, it seems like he's inviting this fight with Blackbeard, a fight that I don't see any way in which he wins. There's no way in which he wins. I don't think that Law is going to die. There's no chance of that either. So I just assume that Law has some sort of plan. And in his plan, it might be, or there might be some contingency to lose. Like, Law doesn't consider losing to be the end of the world. I don't want to spend forever trying to justify this. But I feel like we've got a good sense about who Law is as a person and as a character. Last thing that he said to Luffy is like, the alliance is over. Next time we meet, we're not going to be allies. Law is a planner. He's a schemer. He'll do whatever it takes. I really think that Law right now is just testing himself against Blackbeard, going to give it his all to try to win, but I don't think that he's going to win, and at the end of it, I think that he's going to join Blackbeard. Maybe rooms his crew to safety just before the end, in case Blackbeard doesn't want them. And of course, Blackbeard's going to want him. And it could actually fulfill a role on Blackbeard's crew. I mean, Law is a doctor, right? They have Doc Q, but that dude is no doctor. I want none of his medicine. And I also wouldn't put it past Blackbeard to know the secret of the Opi Opi no Mi, whatever that is, the immortality surgery. These are things that if Blackbeard knew, it's just like, nobody is surprised. Maybe it might leave a bad taste in people's mouth if Law does decide to join Blackbeard, but I do think that there's an appropriate contrast here. We just got out of Wano where Kid fought against Kaido from the moment that he got there, and he wouldn't let his spirit break. But Kid and Luffy are nothing like Law. This was the same dude who willingly chose to join the government and become one of the warlords for his own purposes. In this respect, it makes him a lot more similar to Blackbeard, who joined Whitebeard and laid low for as long as it was necessary. But I suppose to boil my thoughts down here, I don't think that Law wins, I don't think that he runs away, and I don't think that he dies, so you need some sort of out for him. This makes the most sense to me. It includes Law in the final battle. You can continue to hype up his Opi Opi no Mi because it's still in the focus of the story. And honestly, I'm pretty hyped about it. But there's some other ideas as well. I try not to talk about this every time it occurs to me, but a theory that I've liked for a really long time, first heard from Randy Troy, was that Law could be a member of Sword. Is it the case? Is it not? We'll obviously find out. It's just a theory. But like a reveal like that in the middle of this fight to get Law out of danger could be really awesome as well. But I would say that I'm not a huge fan of Law getting captured and then Blackbeard lugging him around for no reason. If there was an offer to join Blackbeard's crew, I think Law would take it. And if Blackbeard didn't want Law in his crew, I think that he would just kill him and take the devil fruit. But anyway, let's backtrack a little bit. I'm so happy that Oda found a place for Pudding. Since Big Mom was defeated in Wano, her fate is uncertain, although I think that there's at least clues that she's still alive. But you wonder, what role will Big Mom play in the future? And prospects don't look too good. At least I haven't felt that way. So with her, you just wonder about Pudding, right? You set up that whole thing about Pudding Three Eyes being able to read the poneglyphs. Is that actually going anywhere? And now we know it is. I don't know how many people still remember this, but Pudding was really controversial in Whole Cake Island. But I love her. I love the personality switching back and forth, being uncertain. The moment that she had with Sanji at the end of the arc totally floored me. I want more of that. I want her to be part of the story. And there's other relationships as well, like with Lola and with Big Mom, that I didn't feel like were totally resolved. And I'm sitting here reading the cover, and honestly, the cover is just as good as any part of the story itself. And at the same time, I feel a little bit of my hope rekindling for Big Mom and her entire crew. Remember, the last thing that Big Mom actually said is, "Don't think me defeated," right? And then the arc just kind of ended, and look, she was just defeated, right? Maybe even died. That didn't leave a good taste in my mouth to this day. But there's, now that we have Pudding captured, you have reason for the Big Mom Pirates to act, or even more reason. I mean, that's a family member. This puts them on a track to become part of the story again. Another thing that I just love, or at least I love the idea of it. Through that, I think that we'll find out for sure whether Big Mom is still alive or not, or if she is alive, what state that she's in. I say that because if Big Mom's alive, there's no way that her will is crushed. I just don't believe it. And so Pudding was her plan to become the queen of the pirates. This is an absolutely massive blow to the Big Mom Pirates, far more than any rubbing of their poneglyph. Without Pudding, Big Mom loses. But anyway, what else do I have to say about Law versus Blackbeard? All the powers are great. I think that Oda had two options with the rest of Blackbeard's crew when giving them devil fruits. He could make the powers interesting, like some sort of combination that just excites you. I felt like that was the case before with Katarina Devon and Shilu, right? Like a swordsman who can turn invisible. It's just an interesting combination. It amplifies his abilities in not necessarily a straightforward way. With Katarina Devon, I mean, totally new powers, you would think. Being able to shapeshift and the powers of the Kitsune. But with these devil fruits, it seems much more linear. Like, instead of trying to be cute with it, let's just take what these characters already do and make it stronger. And I got no problem with that. I really think that Oda's main goal here was just to hype up the Blackbeard pirates, make them into fearsome opponents. Like right now, we're thinking in-game, you fight Blackbeard, it's going to be 1 versus 1, Blackbeard's crew versus the Strats. Do you think that the Strats are going to win in a straight-up fight with the new devil fruits that the Blackbeard pirates have? And I personally don't feel that way. It feels like they're back to being the underdogs, and I like that. I prefer that. I think that they're going to win anyway. Of course, I want them to win. But the feeling of we're not in the driver's seat here. That's a recipe for the emotion and the drama that I want. But it seems like, if I counted correctly, there's now 3 Blackbeard pirates who we don't know what their new powers are or what their devil fruit is. And I'm assuming by the end they all have devil fruits. You have Lafitte, I think, Avalo Pizarro, and Vasco Shot. Also, you could probably throw in San Juan Wolf here, although I believe that it was confirmed in a Viva card that San Juan Wolf already has a devil fruit that contributes to his incredibly large size. But yeah, I think that Lafitte already has a fruit. He has something that gives him wings and allows him to fight. So he's had a devil fruit from the beginning of the story, but I think that the reveal there, Oda's saving it because it is an incredibly cool fruit. And I also think the same is going to end up being true for Avalo Pizarro and Vasco Shot. I think Oda basically threw in all the members of Blackbeard's crew whose devil fruits were relatively uninteresting. You know, it's not as big of a reveal as Shilu and as Katarina Devon, because it just amplifies their abilities further. So you put them all in this chapter, sort of lump them together, and then hype up Blackbeard. But with these last 3, Lafitte, Vasco Shot, and Avalo Pizarro, I'm expecting something insane. And I think that part of this might be related to who these characters match up with. We obviously don't know how the Strats are going to match up with Blackbeard yet, but some obvious connections, right? Vasco Shot seems like a fishman, would make sense versus Jinbei. There's questions about Avalo Pizarro being a king, right? Sanji also being by lineage a king. There could be a connection there. So those are 2 of the top 4 Straw Hats. It makes a little bit more sense for them to have insane fruits. Of course, you could say Lafitte versus Sanji also makes sense. I think Lafitte personally versus Brook, just from a music standpoint, but who knows? Just for clarification here, I add music to Lafitte because he's like a tap dancer. And the going theory on his devil fruit that I personally subscribe to, but we'll find out, is that he is a siren fruit. There's also a West Blue connection between Brook and Lafitte. But anyway, from all of this, the devil fruit that has me hyped up the most is Doc Q's. And not because I think it's the most powerful fruit, just because I think it's the most interesting. I mean, Oda can do whatever he wants to now with Doc Q. If gender swapping can be a disease, anything can be a disease. Put that up against Chopper in the endgame trying to cure stuff, man, it just seems like it would be amazing. And the same thing goes for Van Augur versus Usopp. It's another sort of predicted endgame fight. It would be very surprising if it didn't happen, but the hype level of that is just through the roof now that Van Augur can warp. I assume himself and others, he's always accurate. Now it's even more going to be the case. But I suppose most important here is that for those snipers, you wonder what their defense is. That would be, you can hit things at range, but how are you in close combat? Well, Van Augur will never run into that problem. It's literally overpowered for a sniper. How does Usopp win that fight? I actually have a pretty clear mental image of just insane distances where Van Augur warps himself back over and over again, sort of as a competition. It's like, how far can you shoot? How accurate are you? And so Usopp's taking damage left and right, trying to be accurate through all of that. And then Van Augur moves a little bit further back and still hits Usopp, and Usopp has to match that. And you basically win by who is accurate at the furthest distance. And by that point, it will be Usopp. Thinking about that, man, literal shivers. And then I suppose we're going to get Chad boxing between the literal strongest man in the world with a buff devil fruit and Frankie. That's, that just seems like how it's gonna be. I just wonder if Oda can ever top Senor Pink versus Frankie. That had so much juice in it. So I do think Oda has his work cut out for him. Not that I don't believe in him, but I don't see it yet. I guess the biggest difference is, there's like an weird emotional connection to Senor Pink that Oda weaved into there that made the fight just on another level. Whereas Burgess is just like, wee ha ha ha, and he's just, shut up, dude. But yeah, the other reveal that Oda threw into the end of this chapter is that Haki can counteract Devil Fruit abilities, and I'm not surprised by this at all. I'm curious about some things, like for instance Aokiji's fruit. Aokiji freezes people, and we saw actually when Doflamingo fought Aokiji, Doflamingo was able to break out of Aokiji's ice, but I was not entirely convinced that I thought Aokiji basically let him do it. There was a thin layer of ice, but now it could potentially be that Doflamingo used Haki to break it. But I do have questions about that. But with some other abilities, for instance Doc Q's here, or some of the intangible ones, it's just it just made sense to me that ultimately willpower is the strongest force in the series. There's characters like Garp, who are just as strong as the absolute top tiers of the world at his time without a Devil Fruit, because all you really need is to master Haki, and that is enough. At the end of the day, Devil Fruits are cute additions, but they can't just win. It was actually a big topic of conversation when in Dressrosa we encountered Sugar's fruit, right? It's like, Sugar just wins. Every Yonko just touch them, turn them into toys, it's over, right? But no, with Haki, no. Although Law really struggled to break Doc Q's ability. As I was reading, I was thinking for a moment, like, does Law really want to change back? Anyway, we discussed the chapter a little bit backwards, but the beginning was just good fun. Maybe this is kind of like weird to say, and a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but I really wanted more Vegapunk. Not that I'm totally hyped for Blackbeard, I am. I'm not sure how much I was prepared for it, and I'm still I want to see more from Vegapunk. I'm really excited about that. So it was a little bit of a tease in the first half. I'm going to put my nuts on the line right now, guys. I will almost guarantee you, nuts on the line, almost guarantee you that those lab assistants with those hoods covering their faces, those are going to look strikingly similar to Automata. This is obviously building off the theories that we made in the prior weeks that Vegapunk has had access to moon technology in some way. We also saw that there was actual automata on Karakuri Island, the island Vegapunk is from. Not associated with Vegapunk, it was instead Dr. Tsukimi, but still. I think that there's a reason that Oda included these little people and covered their faces. There's some sort of reveal there, and that's the only thing that makes sense to me. But yeah, I love that Oda found some sort of excuse to redesign all the strides. Like, his game is on point. Let's just acknowledge this for a second. Part of being, one of the leading mangakas in the world is designing toys, okay? That's just part of the gig. But the way that you do it naturally incorporate in the story, pure genius. I had this mental image of Oda spending hours upon hours trying to figure out how to make Space Jinbei work, and then he was like, no, okay, it just doesn't work. We're not gonna do it. Also, while we're here, the joke at the beginning of the chapter where everybody ate and they're huge, and Vegapunk's like, wow, you four have huge bellies. And Jinbei's like, no, I was like that before. I died. I also really enjoyed the scene with Kuma. I do have one criticism, though, is in the last chapter, we pretty much learned that Kuma was Bonnie's father. It just seemed very explicit to me. But I didn't talk about it in my review like I wanted to because it didn't feel like Oda gave it the moment that it deserved. And we got that moment in this chapter, but it seems so redundant. Like, why even mention it in the last chapter? Save the reveal for now. Maybe I'm confused, and maybe it was more ambiguous in the text than I thought that it was. But from what we knew about the Reverie and what Bonnie said in the last chapter, it just was like, okay, the reveal is there. But anyway, the police Kuma has been mobilized to attack these thieves. And I thought this was interesting. It felt in half like a joke, It's like, aha, we free clothes, we're just pressing all the buttons, right? And then suddenly thieves. It's a joke, but it could also be really good science fiction as well, almost dystopian. Basically, it's a trap to activate the Kuma police state. And as they over-pursue their very righteous justice, they destroy the whole factory. But as they gear up to fight the pacifista, Bonnie steps in and says, no, don't hurt my daddy. I feel there's two ways to take this. I think the straightforward way to look at this is that Bonnie is simply traumatized, that she sees her father in the pacifista and is kind of acting irrationally. On the other hand, maybe she knows something. Maybe a little bit of her father is in all of the pacifista. Either way, this is an incredible way to keep the tension up, because the Strat's hands are tied behind their back. There's no way they're going to hurt this Kuma while Bonnie is here, so how do they deal with this? How do they stop this? It feels like it's going to lead into something interesting. Like Vegapunk appears and pays for their clothes or something. It is worthy of pointing out that the pacifista doesn't seem to be targeting them because they're wanted criminals, which all the other pacifistas would do. But anyway, guys, ready for more Peak Piece next week. As a reminder, my book is released November 4th. If you want links to pre-order the ebook and physical copy, they will be in the description as well as pinned in the comments. As just a heads up, right now we're having a tough time getting links live for Australia and Canada, so those are like the big ones that we're still waiting for. But yeah, every pre-order matters a lot. I appreciate all of you guys, and we're less than a month away. As always, I'm curious as to what you guys think, whether you noticed something from the chapter that I might have missed. Just share your thoughts. But yeah, like the video, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, join the squad, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.